So, what are the kind of things you should be thinking about, those of you who are going to think about the touch points for Singapore? So I want to give you a few little things to think about and to get your brains thinking in the right way. And the first of these is paradigms. It's a big word. All it means is new categories of things. All of us think of things in terms of paradigms. We all think of them as types of things. So we think of radios, cassette players, MP3 players, televisions, and so on. But it's what happens in the gaps between categories where new product ideas emerge. By changing things and creating a new category of product, you can make a big difference. So, for example, when you look at that vehicle, your brain probably says, this is a bicycle. Because that's what you think bicycles look like. But actually, this is a motorcycle. So by creating something that looks like a bicycle, you bring with that a whole load of associations which are good about bicycles. That they are environmentally friendly, good for you. You wear different kind of clothes to ride a bicycle than you would a motorcycle. Actually, this has a 35cc two-stroke engine in here, and it's fueled by butane gas. Because in the cities of the future, there probably won't be any petrol stations, but you can dive into your local tobacconist and get a lighter refill. Mind you, there probably won't be any tobacconists in the future, but never mind. So in terms of paradigms, here's another example. We were asked by Tefal to redesign that toaster. And rather like the iron, we asked two questions. Let's not just restyle it. Why, we asked ourselves, are the controls on the side? Well, there are good mechanical reasons for that. The engineers, it makes sense to put them there. And two, why do I have to lean over the toaster to see my toast cooking and risk singeing my eyebrows in the process? Two very simple things. All we did was turn that mechanism through 90 degrees to bring the controls to the front where they're more accessible, and then we tilted it up by 15 degrees so we could see the toast cooking. And we made a prototype of this in our workshops, just taking the standard mechanism, and our prototype could throw the toast right across the workshop. And the toast browned unevenly because we'd changed the cooking chambers. But these are two things which the logical, practical mind of the engineer can easily solve. Not difficult. But they couldn't think of this paradigm change. And at the time this was launched, they were planning on 60,000 pieces a year, which is very small. 60,000 pieces a year. After 3 years, this range of toasters was selling 3.5 million pieces a year. Why? Because in store, this was a different paradigm for a toaster. The battleground is to get the attention of the user. You go into a store, you see a whole shelf full of MP3 players. Your brain is making decisions about them even before you're within 2 meters of them. And that's when we need to get your attention. And being different as well as being better can sometimes be a huge advantage. Or in this case, the paradigm is changed. This is a two-wheel vehicle powered by hydrogen. It uses a fuel cell to convert that into electricity. It was commissioned by the company that makes the fuel cell, who wanted something that they could demonstrate their technology with. And we decided to design and build these motorcycles. So they were completely created in our office. We built the prototypes as running advertisements for their technology. Most of you may know that an electric bike has a kind of roughly, you can ride it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the batteries start to go. But with this vehicle, you can ride between 5 and 7 hours on one tank of hydrogen. And what makes it interesting, I think, is that you can crack open the bodywork and you can remove this suitcase-sized thing, which is a power station. This box contains the hydrogen tank, the fuel cell, and the control electrics. That box produces 1 kilowatt hour of power, and its only byproduct is water. So you can use that to power up your log cabin or to power your outboard motor. And it's a different paradigm for a motorcycle. Very interesting. One problem in your thinking is that designers tend to think too close. They tend to think about 2 years' time. Companies tend to think in a time frame which is too close. But the future comes towards you at a standard rate, a fixed rate. And what companies and designers need to do is to think further ahead. You have to give yourself the time to make the technology work towards new products. And that road is never straightforward. And the business of getting from an idea to embodiment is never straightforward. Never, ever, ever is it straightforward. Life isn't that simple. Mostly it looks like this. This is our vision, but people try to kick our vision off course all the time. Maybe something doesn't work as we planned it. Maybe it begins to cost too much money. Maybe it goes through market research. Maybe the tooling is too expensive, and so on. Constantly deflecting us from our vision. And the designer has to make sure that we keep that vision in mind, because otherwise you get development drift. You end up somewhere you didn't intend to be. And this happens all the time. All the time with companies who are not particularly savvy about design. So I think the key skill that you need to develop is to be able to occupy yourself with the detailed things, the parts, the individual aspects that inform your design, without losing sight of that vision, and sometimes to work on that vision, that whole, without losing sight of all the myriad factors which will influence its outcome. Years ago, when I started working in Japan, we had a huge problem with a Japanese company who took the concept, the beautiful model, and said, "Oh, thank you very much, brilliant design, Dick-san." And over the next few months, as they went through to production, they made little changes to it, so that when we came back to the final product, it wasn't exactly what we intended. And we tried to explain this to their engineering team and failed. So I decided to create an illustration to show them how this works. So I created the perfect vision. And that perfect vision at that time was this supermodel, Claudia Schiffer. She's perfect, beautiful, compelling, seductive. Think of her as that great, great vision that you're trying to deliver. And then I went into Photoshop and I changed her, okay? But I changed her trying to maintain the integrity of that original vision. And I moved her eyes a little further apart, I dropped her nose, changed her chin line, but always striving to keep that original. And if you watch carefully, you'll see that happen. Okay, there we go. She's not quite the raving beauty she was before, but something of the original is still there. But what happens in industry, if you take a product from that great vision, that great concept that you've got in your mind as its creator, it goes through this process. And one day you've got a guy on a Pro E workstation. He finds that they've changed the specification of the motor. He needs another 4 millimeters. But hey, we'll just move that wall a bit and that's fine. Then they make a prototype, it starts to overheat. They need 3 more vents to the 10 you've already put in there. So we'll just move it all up a bit and put those 3 in. And then it goes to market research, and hell's donkey, the competition have got a new feature which needs another button. But hey, the designer left lots of space, let's just move them up and we'll stick the button in. And then they make a beautiful prototype and the managing director says, "That's brilliant, great." And his wife walks through and says, "That's a great product, darling, but shame about the color. Why don't we make it pink?" So each of those things is probably not very important, but you put them all together and you can change Claudia Schiffer into our very own Princess Anne, just like that.